Ethan didn't sleep the night after the incident with the mirror, not after watching the reflection move long after he had gone still, not after the lights flickered and the room shifted temperature as though something exhaled behind him. What kept him awake wasn't only fear, it was the name carved on the glass, Ava, a name he didn't know, a name the house clearly did. By morning, the sunlight seemed forcefully bright, like the house wanted him to believe nothing had happened. Ethan walked through the hallway with a mug of lukewarm coffee, trying to convince himself of the same: stress, exhaustion, imagination. That was what he told himself, but the house answered him with silence that didn't feel empty, it felt occupied. He walked into the living room and froze. The front door was unlocked. He distinctly remembered locking it last night. He always double-checked. Ethan stepped closer. There were faint muddy footprints on the wooden floor. Small, almost child-sized, and leading from the inside of the door toward the staircase. His chest tightened. He followed the prints to the base of the stairs. They disappeared after the third step. The house went still, too still. He checked every room, every corner, every closet. Nothing. No sign of forced entry. No shattered windows. Not even a draft strong enough to blow the door open, but something had been inside, or had never left. Ethan stood in the middle of the hallway, listening. The air had grown heavy again, the same oppressive weight he felt the night before. The sense that someone was watching. Listening. Breathing in too close, he closed his eyes and took a long breath. Okay, he whispered to himself. You're losing it. You need help. He grabbed his phone, considering calling the real estate agent, a neighbor, anyone. But who reports muddy footprints from a ghost? Who admits to seeing their own reflection move independently? He slid the phone back into his pocket. That was when he heard it. A soft knock, slow, deliberate, coming from upstairs. Ethan's blood ran cold. Knock, knock, knock. His first instinct was to run out of the house, but his legs stiffened as though glued to the floor. The knocks continued, rhythmic, intentional, as if something was calling him by name without using a voice, summoning him. He forced himself to move toward the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. Halfway up, the knocking stopped. A terrible, ringing silence filled the house. He reached the landing. The hallway stretched long and shadowed, each door slightly ajar as if waiting. He listened carefully. And then heard something faint, almost too soft to catch. Breathing, a small, slow breath, from the end of the hallway. The door to the guest bedroom, the one he had never opened since moving in, creaked wider by itself. Ethan swallowed hard. Hello? He said, his voice trembling. No answer. He stepped toward the room, pushed the door fully, and flicked the light. Nothing, just a dusty bed frame, an empty dresser, and a window half covered by thin curtains that swayed though the air was still. He turned to leave. And then his eyes caught something carved into the wall beside the dresser, a word, or rather, a name, Ava. The same handwriting as the mirror, the same slanted, desperate strokes, but there was more beneath it. Scratched so faintly he had to kneel to read, she never left. Ethan stumbled backward, heart hammering against his ribs. His breath came sharp and fast. The room's temperature plummeted instantly. The curtains stopped moving. The air stilled. Something shifted behind him. The soft creak of the wooden floor. He spun around. No one, but the mirror on the dresser reflected someone standing right behind him. A girl, long dark hair covering part of her face, wearing a pale dress smeared with dirt. Eyes wide and hollow as though she had cried too long and too often. Ethan whipped around again. She wasn't there. But her reflection remained in the mirror. The girl lifted her hand slowly, touching the inside of the glass. Her lips parted, whispering words Ethan couldn't hear. He stepped closer. Who are you? He whispered. The girl's expression shifted from sadness to fear, deep, shaking fear, as though she saw something behind him. Then her whisper grew louder, louder, until he could read her lips clearly. Don't stay here. The mirror shattered. Ethan stumbled backward as glass exploded across the room. The lights flickered wildly. A wind that shouldn't exist rushed around him, tearing through the curtains like a living thing, and through the screaming air came a voice, deep, distorted, nothing like the girl's whisper. Get out. Ethan bolted from the room, tearing down the hallway and down the stairs. His feet hit the floor with panic guiding him more than balance. He grabbed his keys, flung open the door, and practically leapt out of the house. He didn't stop running until he reached the street. His hands trembled uncontrollably as he leaned against a tree, gasping for air. The house behind him loomed quietly, almost innocently, but its windows, one of them had a silhouette standing in it. He stared up. The silhouette didn't move, didn't shift, didn't blink, it simply watched. Ethan stumbled backward into the street, nearly dropping his keys. He had to get away, even if only temporarily. He jumped into his car and drove fast, not knowing where to go, only knowing he couldn't stay the visit. By the time he reached the small diner at the edge of town, he felt drained, like the house had sucked energy straight out of him. He ordered coffee, didn't drink it. A woman at a nearby booth kept glancing at him. Not in a curious way, in a familiar way. As if she recognized something about him. He finally met her eyes. "Do I know you?" he asked. She didn't smile. Instead, she said quietly, "You bought the Wilford house." Ethan froze. "Yes." She looked down at her hands. "Then you need to listen. That house wasn't supposed to be sold again." A chill crawled up Ethan's spine. "Why not?" The woman hesitated, then leaned in. "The girl you saw. Her name was Ava." His heart stopped. "You know her?" The woman nodded slowly. "She went missing 5 years ago. The case never closed. People believe she was taken. But some say the house kept her." Ethan felt the air thicken again. "She lived there." He whispered, "She died there." Ethan's breath caught, not from the words, but from what he saw behind the woman, through the diner window, the reflection of his car, and sitting in the back seat, was the girl, Ava. Staring directly at him, Ethan's pulse slammed against his throat. He stood abruptly, knocking over the cup of coffee. The woman looked startled. "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. He sprinted outside. The car was empty, no sign of her, no footprints in the gravel, nothing. He leaned against the door, heart pounding in his ears. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number, no name, just a message. He opened it. A photo, his living room, taken seconds ago. Lights off, dark, only the faint outline of a girl standing in the corner. The caption, "She's waiting for you." Ethan dropped the phone. The return, he didn't want to go back. Every instinct screamed not to. But the thought of the girl, Ava, trapped in that house, trying to warn him, maybe needing help, that thought ate at him. By evening, his fear had curdled into a shaky determination. He drove back. The house stood in the dim light, quiet, almost patient. Ethan walked to the front door slowly. The air around the house had an unnatural stillness. He reached for the doorknob, and froze. There were 3 knocks from the inside. Not loud, not angry. Just a signal. Ethan swallowed hard. "Who's there?" he whispered. No answer. He forced himself to open the door. The house was pitch black. The only light came from the staircase. A single bulb flickered at the top, leading into the hallway where the guest bedroom waited. Then he heard the voice again, Ava, whispering his name, soft, terrified, "Ethan." He looked up the stairs. Shadows moved, just slightly, like something shifted behind the walls. He took a step forward. The whisper came again, louder this time, "Please. Hurry." Ethan gripped the railing, and just as he placed his foot on the first step, someone else whispered from behind him, much closer, much deeper, "You shouldn't have come back." Ethan's breath caught as he turned, but the door slammed shut behind him before he could see who was speaking. The lock clicked on its own, and the lights went out. TOB continued. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.